We're live.
We are live.
We are live.
We are live.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey guys, you're watching TechRadar. I am Basil.
I'm Andrew.
And I have to apologise.
Why?
Because last week I almost died on this couch. Anybody who watched this didn't know the backstory. I basically had a really bad cold, and then I was walking this way to do the live show, and Andrew said, Basil, would you like some help with the live show? Because you look really rough. He didn't say that, but you could see it in his face. Yeah. That's what he meant. And then I said, no, I should be fine.
Yeah.
And what transpired was half an hour of pure torture. By the end of it, I was clawing at my throat to get the words out.
Yeah, there was no should be fine. You were like, yes, I'm fine. I was like, okay. You don't look fine, but sure. So, and then just as the show went on, your voice got more than that until eventually you were like an orc from Lord of the Rings.
I cried at the end.
Yeah.
It's been removed from YouTube. No one will ever see it.
Which is a shame.
Which is not a shame.
Which is a shame.
Ugh, it's in my brain forever. Right, enough about me. On to today. We have an exciting show to cover. Yep. Show to talk about. We're going to talk about the Moto G6 launch. James was in Brazil. I've got my hands on them. I had a play about. I've got the Moto G6 Play here. We're going to talk about the upcoming LG G7. We have an announcement date for it. And we're going to talk about the Honor 10, which you can buy almost in China. But the launch event hasn't happened here.
Right, okay.
But you know what? Like, these are all phones that we're going to talk about. But you really shouldn't care about phones, because in around 5 years or so, we won't need phones, will we, Andrew? So
I may have written an opinion piece that I've put on the site that some people have sent me some very angry emails about.
Angry emails?
Angry emails. Where I posited the theory that we are 5 years away from the death of the smartphone.
Why?
I don't mean like your smartphone. Like, your smartphone is going to be dead in a year, you know? Like, they die really quickly.
Planned obsolescence.
I mean like the smartphone as a concept, and like
a brain implant.
I think potentially smart glasses. Okay. Is like the thing that I think is
5 years.
Yeah. Let's talk about that later. Let's start with phones. Well, actually, no. Before we start with phones, let's start with people.
Hello, people.
Hello, people. So we are saying hello to Marcelin Ulrich Nga. Hello, guys. Hello. Robert Storm. Hello. Goravdman. Hello, sir. Call out my name.
Call out my name. Goravdman.
Manish Gamez says hello. Abiral Pandey says, oh, you both look great.
Stop it, you.
Thanks. King Sam says, hey, Basil. Is that how it's spelt? No. He spelt it with a Z. That's not how you spell it, is it?
It's not.
It's not. It's an S.
But you questioned your...
I did. Yeah. I said it with such certainty that I'm like, what? How long you haven't shaved, you still look great. I'm guessing you're talking to Basil, because I always have the beard. So
I always have beard.
Oh, both of us have always got beards. We trim them to keep them this length.
Let's focus on the positive.
Yeah.
We still look great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Wicked. Should we move on to the technology?
Quickly, one shout out to... Srinivasteja says, hello Basil, don't kill my name like on the P20 Pro review day. So hopefully that was a little bit better. You can let me know and I'll keep doing it like that. But now, phones. And it's really cool. Okay, so Motorola, they announced a whole bunch of phones. They announced the G6 series and the E5 series. I'm going to focus on the G6s today because they are the sexiest of the bunch. You've got the G6, you've got the G6 Plus, and you've got the G6 Play. This is the Play.
That song, Like a G6, every time you say it.
They use it in their marketing video. Yeah, because there's been an LG G6 and they didn't use it. And everyone was like, oh, you missed a trick with that one. Yeah. But they do it like, I don't know if they sample it, but it kind of goes like, I'm rocking with my G6.
Yes.
And it's like Moto is dropped in there all the time. So they basically made a new song.
Yeah.
And so like I was joking like haha when I was having the pre-brief on it, and I was like, oh, when are you going to be able to buy the song on iTunes? And they were like, we don't understand what you mean. Yeah. But yeah, it has a song. So check out the launch video. I haven't seen it on YouTube, but I'm sure it's somewhere. And you'll hear the rocking with my G6 song. But these are cool phones. Like, it's not just the song namesake that's cool.
Yeah.
They democratize 18:9 screens across price points, as well as some very, very fancy pants camera stuff, dual rear cameras across the higher two devices, USB-C's, glass backs, so really nice design, and you get a turbocharger in the box.
I'm just going to stop you for a second. So when you say democratizing the screen size across...
It's the screen aspect ratio. So this aspect ratio is more commonly associated with flagship phones.
Yes.
And so by bringing it to lower price points, Alcatel's done it, Honor's done it, and it means that your phone won't look as dated as all the 16:9 Full HD phones.
Okay.
So, I mean, you've also got fingerprint security across all of them, as well as face recognition. Now, we're not talking iPhone 10 face recognition with all the lasers, but we are talking about some kind of face recognition. So people at least feel like they're getting a more comprehensive flagship style experience. Well, the pricing starts on this one at £169.
Right.
And add £50 for the G6, add another £50, so £269 for the G6 Plus. So this is the Play. They all ship with covers in the box as well, protect your phone, which is nice. The Play is the worst of the bunch, 32 gigabytes of storage, 3 gigabytes of RAM, but it has a 4,000 milliamp battery, which is huge.
Yeah.
So that'll easily get you a day and a half, maybe 2 days, maybe 3 if you're a really light user. It has a micro USB though, and the fingerprint scanner is at the back. The back is not glass, the back is a glass polymer, so it's like plastic. But it looks good. It looks premium enough, and plus if you stick a case on it, it kind of looks glassy. As for the other two, you've got USB-Cs across both, again turbochargers, 3000 and I think 3400 milliamps respectively for the G6 and the Plus. The Plus has more power. The Plus is available with up to 128 gigabytes of storage, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll cost more, but you can get a phone that is less expensive than the flagship with some nice flagship features.
And did you say what processor it's using?
So the Play and the regular G6 are using Snapdragon 4 series devices. The regular G6 I think it's a 450, so slightly newer, and the Plus uses a 6 series device. I think it's a 630. Okay. But again, you can get way more RAM on the Plus, so it's not going to be the best for gaming. Hasn't specifically with the 630, it hasn't got the best GPU out there. But irrespective, again, if you're not going to be gaming and you want it for other stuff, it should fit the bill. Also, cameras. I haven't mentioned the cameras. Dual cameras on both the 6 and the 6 Plus, and with the 6 Plus you get 1.4 micron pixels. When what that translates to is the flagships of last year had this pixel size, which means it's probably going to be better in low light, and that's paired with an f1.7 lens. I'll stop.
You don't have to stop.
But
you do have to stop.
There are comments.
Yeah, there are comments and there are questions. So, Robert Storm has asked, which is better, the G6 Plus or the ZTE Blade V9?
Ooh, now that is a good question. Let me just pull up the ZTE Blade V9 specs.
I will do a
jig
whilst we're waiting dance.
Any other questions?
We have got other questions. Josh Tennessee, which is a question that isn't specifically about this, but you might know, is he's saying, what is the deal with the Snapdragon 450? From what he's hearing, it has the same power or just about as the Snapdragon 625. Have we seen any of that in our testing?
So we haven't extensively tested the power across both. We have the reviewers working on them, one reviewer working on each, so that you can get the reviews even sooner. So check back on TechRadar when the reviews go live. We should be getting the G6 Play review out hopefully by the end of the week, definitely. The G6 regular one, sorry, and that is with James, who will be doing the video review on YouTube as well, and who was out in Brazil at the launch. But the 6 it wouldn't surprise me if the new generation was better at some things. I think the 6 is just going to have the better GPU, but I might be wrong. Right, I've just pulled up the specs of the Blade V9, the ZTE. In terms of the battery is smaller. It has a slightly smaller screen, but it looks like a great value for money phone. Snapdragon 450 processor, so it's again slightly like inferior processor to the Plus. I guess they both look like really good options. You would probably opt for the Plus if you like stock Android, because ZTE phones notoriously layer their UI with a really I find it slightly obnoxious skin. Okay.
And if you are the sort of person that has been used to having a flagship phone, but you want to try a more budget option, and you go for one of these, is it going to be noticeably worse than the flagship phone that you're used to? Like, say you're going from, I don't know, so you've got a Galaxy S6.
Yes.
And you're like, this is now an old phone.
Yes.
I need a new phone.
Yes.
And you upgrade to that.
Yes.
Will this...
This will be worse because it's the Play.
Right.
But actually, from a Galaxy S6 moving to a Plus, there are some things you'll be able to enjoy from it. Now, the Galaxy S6 is and was an excellent phone. It had image stabilization. It had that 2K OLED display. So you'll be making a sacrifice in terms of screen quality and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it had a notoriously small battery. The Galaxy S6, and generally also with processors that are a little bit less powerful, they will consume battery a little bit less aggressively.
Yeah.
Just a quick one on the ZTE comparison, just on specs. Haven't tried them side by side on the V9, but it has got smaller pixel size than the G6 Play, 1.12 micron as opposed to 1.4 micron. And it also has slightly wider aperture at f1.8, suggesting that the camera might not be quite as good in low light. Also, Motorola imbues their cameras with a ton of really nice shooting modes. You've got full manual, you've got color picker, you can create a GIF, so does ZTE. So my advice, if you can, try them both in a shop and see which one fits better in your hand, better in your pocket, but don't walk away out of the store without paying.
Yeah, cool. So I'm just going to say hello to Romeo Dion. So, hi.
Hello.
And we've got the politest ever. Shall we move on to the LG G7? Which I think is perfect timing, because that's about what I was going to say.
Incredibly perfect.
Razortooth SMRT. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Razortooth. Yeah, I often need help stopping talking about smartphones, and you have helped, because on May the 2nd, we're going to get a new phone. It is the LG G7, but it is not just the LG G7. It's the LG G7 ThinQ. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
But we don't know how it's going to be pronounced. That will be unveiled on the day. Thin with a big Q at the end. It is still a G7. The leaks have been coming out thick and fast for a while now. This is going to have a notch. Going to probably have a rear fingerprint scanner as well. Dual cameras, probably one wide-angle dual camera and one regular, as we've seen. The rumor is it's a 170-degree wide-angle dual camera. Now, the colors are really tickling me pink. It's available in a raspberry rose color.
Very nice.
As well as a Moroccan blue.
Yeah, I can picture that. It's evocative.
Exactly. As well as slightly more subdued platinum grey and aurora black. So looking forward to seeing what those big names look like in the flesh. They are the leaks. And it also looks like from the front this phone will just look like an LG G6 with a notch, but you can notch on, notch off in the settings.
Okay. So right, okay, so it does need a notch if you want it to not have bezels, but if you'd rather not notch, you can bezel. You
can, but it's not really not notching, because the notch is still there and it uses that space, I'm guessing, in the same way Huawei does when you notch off with the P20 and P20 Pro, and it uses it for notification, information, battery percentage. So it's smart use of the notch. So I guess it's the kind of stuff you would have had in a second screen if you had an LG, I think it was a V20, but instead you just have a notch. Other leaks point to this being a brighter display, twice as bright as the G6 because of the pixel formation. It has more white pixels and all the sub-pixel stuffs. And from the back, it looks like an LG G6 as well. But one major difference, by going by the leaks again, thank you, EV-Leaks, it is going to be a stacked vertical camera sensor, as opposed to, like, instead of the Ghost. Do you remember the Ghost? Oh, I don't know if you remember the Ghost. Let me pull it up on here. LG G6.
As in Casper the Friendly?
Face. Images.
I mean, this does nothing for you, unless Basil turns his screen around so that you can see it.
Totally. So, see, it looks like a surprise ghost.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this is like the LG G6 surprise ghost face. We won't be getting a surprise ghost by the looks of things when we get the G7, because it will be a stacked, in fact, I can open TechRadar.com like that, stacked camera sensor, which is less ghosty. Open image in new tab. And I am trying to be dexterous.
It's very good.
One button here, one button there. Bam, it's a bit bigger. So yeah, we'll be getting a stacked camera sensor, and from the front it looks like a notch phone, iPhone 10, blah blah blah.
And OLED screen?
I don't know yet, but
Okay.
based on the fact it's going to be twice as bright as the G6, it could go either way, because it clearly looks like they're using a different screen.
Yeah. The reason I had a little smirk just then is because Josh Tennessee said, do you guys randomly have like bulls running through, or a stampede, or some other sort of large animal periodically running through this live chat?
I mean,
if that's how you describe the London Underground, yes. And so, yeah, our office is very, very close to a train. And
in fact, it sits atop a train line.
Yeah, if we had a spade, we could probably get onto the tube this way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, every once in a while you might just hear a rumbling sound, and that is a train running
Sorry
underneath
if
us.
it's exploded your subwoofer, guys.
Apologise.
Back to the G7 ThinQ.
Back to the G7. So that is so the ThinQ is how LG uses, like it's the subcategory of all of its appliances and everything, right?
Exactly.
So is that like how it talks about its smart things? Is it leaning towards AI?
AI. I see what you've done there. I see what they've done.
Yeah.
It is.
Because it can think.
I'm guessing it is. I'm guessing at the launch, with what's happened from Huawei right through to everyone just saying AI is Snapdragon at the heart of everything. And this has, based on the leaks, of Snapdragon 845, so it has an independent artificial intelligence component of the chipset. AI will be a big part of it.
Yeah.
It's in a name itself. It doesn't, like, no one else is doing that. No one else is integrating AI into the actual name, so it's a bit of a strange one, but let's see how it goes. I think, like, for ease, most people will be just referring to it as an LG G7.
Cool. So we have got, by the looks of it, lots of people just going OLED. We've already talked about the OLED.
So yeah, you can see on TechRadar that, like, LG G7 rumor roundup, we postulate around the idea of it potentially being an OLED screen. One highlight is the brightness. The leak of the brightness is it's going to be double as bright. Some leak mentioned HDR10 compatibility, and then but we're not sure if it'll be an OLED or LCD. Reports claim that LG would switch to OLED screens in late 2017 flagship, and we did see that in LG's V30. But the G series has had an IPS display. Also, let's not forget, guys, the V30 OLED screen as it was also had a lot of OLED issues with the blue shift.
Yeah, and didn't it, like, am I half remembering a story here that Apple was looking into having LG as one of the providers for screens for its next generation, and that doesn't look like it's working out so well?
LG's OLEDs have just proven themselves to be inferior to Samsung's, and now Huawei's. So Huawei doesn't manufacture their own screens, but they get Japanese display company to make their screens, and the P20 and P20 Pro have had excellent reception as far as screens go. Yeah. So yeah, if this is an OLED, I'll be surprised if it's the one from the V30.
Yeah. We've got Iron Silver here asking, what's the best $250 phone? I mean, that's not the chat for today, but we can try and find which one would that be best.
I mean, out of all of them, so the Motorola G6 would be a really good one to just throw in there. If you can find an Honor phone in your region, an Honor 7X, that's got 64 gigabytes of storage, so it'll give you double the storage of the G6 while still offering a dual camera. G6 will give you a glass back, Honor 7X will give you a metal back. It's kind of, so those two are really strong contenders.
Cool. Now, was there one more phone we were talking about?
There was one more phone. On the subject of Honor, we have the Honor 10. This is the next flagship from Honor, and it's been announced, even though it's going to be announced on the 15th of May. You can already see everything about it online, because China is where Honor is from, and it's where the phone has dropped. It's got a glass back. It's got a very, very kind of similar back to the Honor 9, but you have that unicorn gradient that you get on the P20.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Unicorn gradient, but instead of being this way, it's this way. And so it still has a gradient backing. It's kind of like, some reports have been saying that it's like the P20 Pro and Honor 9 love child. But I actually think it's more like the P20 and Honor 9 love child, because you only have 2 cameras on here, you don't have 3. Okay. What makes a P20 Pro so pro is the camera setup. That is a real point of differentiation. You also have no IP waterproofing or water resistance on the Honor 10, and you don't have that on the P20, but you have it on the P20 Pro.
Okay.
So this looks a lot like a P20 Pro, but you do get some things you don't get on the P20 Pro. Looks a lot like the P20, but you do get some things you don't get on the P20, like a headphone jack.
Okay.
And other bits.
Which people like.
Which
People
like. And I understand it. If I didn't use Bluetooth headphones all the time, I would like it. So the overview of the features.
Sorry, you go.
I'm just going to run through these.
Cool.
3,400 milliamp battery.
Yep.
Supercharged technology loaded on.
Tell me more.
Charges very, very quickly. 16 megapixel and 24 megapixel rear camera.
Yeah.
And a 24 megapixel front camera.
What else?
64 gigabytes or 128 gigabytes of storage.
Uh-huh.
And 6 gigabytes of RAM. Starting at $415 converted from yen to pound to dollars.
And how do you feel that is in terms of the value for it?
If it comes at that price, it's going to be really solid value, because it's going to give people a similar kind of phone to the P20 at a much, much lower price point.
Cool. The reason I was having another slight chuckle at the comments was GG Gamer
GG
shouted, "Any rumour for price?" Which yes, there is.
It's not even a rumor. That is the confirmed price as it stands, but that isn't a price in local markets. So TechRadar.com will update it as soon as we can. But if anyone wants to have a look at this phone, like I said, you can already gander on a 10, launch price, everything like that, and it'll refer you to the Chinese version.
Yeah.
And that's phones.
And that's phones.
And that is phones. We have no more phone questions.
No more phone questions.
And do you know what that means?
It means the death of phones.
It means we have no more phones.
No more phones. So,
hit me.
My thinking. So, we were having a conversation in the office about the technology that could potentially replace phones.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think that in the next 5 years, we're going to have the technology that replaces phones. And not many people in the office agree with me. But I have seen technology recently that I think is the obvious next step. And
you haven't just seen it.
I've used it, yeah. And so I was out in Dubai at an education conference recently where I got to fly a drone using my brain. And I was like, this is really cool.
Yeah, well, you say fly a drone using your brain. So what, was it thinking, eye movements?
Thinking, just thinking. So basically, it was an EEG headset that's able to
EEG,
electro. I don't know graph.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So you're looking it up. Shh, the power of Google. So yeah, it's a headset that measures your brain activity. Go on.
How do you even pronounce that word?
Tell me.
Electroencephalogram.
Yeah, there you go. Done. And so it measures your brain activity. And the way that this headset works is that you can think about anything. So you can think about the color red, the number 4, anything you like. And it measures that as your brain activity.
Okay.
And then that is whatever is go. And so you don't have to think like, I am going to make the drone fly and then it flies. It's like, it's not, you're not Magneto. You're like, yet. And so you just think red and it flies. And then you stop thinking about red and it stops flying.
That's amazing.
Which is amazing, right? And so I did this and I was like, this is cool, but it's a bit of a gimmick. And I interviewed the guy that was the president of the company that creates this. And this is like, it's a commercially available product. Like there is a guy who currently uses it to activate his lights at home. Like, it's not like some sci-fi future technology. Like this currently exists, you can buy it.
But does that mean you have to have a headpiece?
So you have to have a headset on. But this is the thing that I was talking to him and I was like, so it's pretty binary. It's like on or off. And he was like, yeah, but like last year when the guy drove the Formula 1 car with his brain, that wasn't. And I was like, what? And so yeah, basically there was this dude who was like, he's this amazing guy that runs a charity that is all to do with getting people with disabilities back into education. And he is quadriplegic. So basically he got attacked, he got carjacked when he was young and they shot him in the spine.
Oh my gosh.
Right? And so this dude is in a wheelchair. And this company was like, we think that we can create a headset that would allow you to control a Formula 1 car with your brain. And he's like super into sports and everything. And he was like, let's do it, right? So he goes and he does this and it works. Like he can drive a Formula 1 car with his brain. And obviously this opens up loads of things for like
prosthetic limbs.
For prosthetic limbs, for like just even like more basic than that. Like the technology exists right now that you could control a wheelchair. That like a person who currently has no ability to move themselves around can now move themselves around. Like, it's amazing.
That's incredible.
So I was talking to him about what the commercial applications of this are, and he was really cool, very charismatic, but like right at the end he said this super cryptic thing where he was like, the headset at the moment is like, you go on TechRadar and look at the fluid drone with my brain thing, and you'll see
fluid drone, because we can't paste links into YouTube chat. So
yeah, if you search fluid drone brain TechRadar, there aren't going to be too many things that go flew, as in I flew her.
Oh
yeah,
I flew. Okay, yeah.
Like, it's currently a thing that looks a bit like something from Minority Report. Like, you wouldn't want to be like walking around the streets with that on. But he was saying that they are working on the next thing. I can't remember exactly the words that he used, but he was like, there are obviously devices, things that people are comfortable wearing on their face, that they don't mind having on constantly, and so the next version's going to be that. And it's like, that's glasses. And he was talking about that basically, that at the moment we've got this thing with smart glasses that you don't really know how you control them. And so people have looked into having Alexa controls, so that you can speak to your glasses. But really, who wants to speak to their glasses?
This is true.
Yeah, and like with things like the HoloLens, you have gestural controls, but you also look really weird. But like, imagine if you could think a notification away. So like, I'm a glasses wearer, so for me this is like, I'm totally on board. I'm like, cool, if you make my glasses more awesome, wicked. But I was just having a conversation with you and I got a text message, and so a notification just popped up saying text from wife, and then I could either be like, I don't want to read that, and so just dismiss it with my brain, just think no and it goes away, or like go, yeah, I want to read that, and so think whatever the command is for yes, and then that comes up and I read it and I'm like, okay, cool. And like, there was an EEG headset that got created by MIT that was able to measure subvocalizations, which are the like small muscular signals that your brain sends your mouth when you think
words.
When you think about words. So you know when you like read in your head, and you've either got the option to like read on mute where you just like are reading the words, or you've got the option to like speak in your head. So when you do the speaking in your head, you're actually sending subvocal signals to your mouth. And so they managed to create the thing that could figure out what those subvocalization signals were and turn that into written font. And so if you take technology that already exists, like bone conduction technology that we have in running headphones, which sits on this part of your head, which is where glasses sit, and that EEG technology,
it's
and
laying it up for,
like, we're basically getting to a stage where, go on.
5 years.
So my thinking of the 5 years thing is that basically, if you look at the progression of technology as it happens, the Moore's law, and there is lots of argument that Moore's law is dying or has died, but it isn't. And so the amount of time that it takes to go from a technology being utterly laughable to being completely commonplace is shrinking. And every time it shrinks, the next period becomes shorter again. And so, like, the point that I made in my opinion piece is that the iPhone is just more than 10 years old. Like, we think that we've had smartphones forever. Like, it feels like they've been around our entire lives, but they're about 10 years old. Like, that's when Ratatouille came out. Like, it's recent. And that isn't even when we started properly mainstream adoption of this technology. Like, that's even more recent. And we've just got to the stage where like screens are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and like we've got to the stage where you have to have a little notch at the top of the thing because we're like, we need the screen to be bigger, and it can't take it anymore, it can't do it. So we've got to have the next thing. And so 5 years is half of the period from there. So like, if you think about the period of 10 years to now, if you go like 3 years from now, and then from that point a year, and then from that point half a year, and like we're 3 generations into a completely revolutionary technology. I don't think it's at all ambitious to say 5 years.
So I get that.
Yeah.
I also think that the ability to interact with a smartphone without wearing it will keep it alive.
What do you mean?
So, when I interviewed the design director of Porsche Design around the Porsche Design Mate RS, it's the first phone with an in-screen fingerprint scanner. And we were asking him what his dream phone would be. His dream phone would be a phone that is all screen on the front, where the camera is hidden underneath, behind the surface of the screen, where the fingerprint scanner all beneath the screen. Around the back, you just have a sheet of glass. Everything is hidden underneath that glass, completely like perceptible to anybody looking at it. And so you have a sliver, a beautiful, like symmetrical sliver.
Yep.
And he believes that's the future. And so if you're right, and all this technology is advancing so much and so quickly, why would we not go in this direction? Obviously, wearing stuff on your head is cooler, but isn't it significantly less practical?
No, not at all. That's significantly less practical. That's basically... So if you've got this, like... If you have to have a screen that you boot up and then you press on an app and then you change it to a thing and like you have to press the buttons and your neck's in the wrong position.
If you're a glasses
and like,
wearer,
yeah.
so everyone will wear glasses.
Like when 3D cinema had its re-emergence, people were just popping the lenses out of those and wearing them because they were cool. And they didn't do anything. They were totally non-functional. Imagine like the idea of carrying around something of this size. Like if you went 10 years ago and went, you're going to carry something that's this size around with you at all times and spend 90% of your day looking at it, people would be like, no, I won't.
I get that. I do, but I also don't, because we were working towards that 10 years ago. Windows mobiles were coming out with like so much bezel, but not too dissimilar size-wise. And people were trying to like, I remember when I used to work in a bowling alley, and people were trying to like get episodes of Friends onto like the big SD cards that went into their flip phones and stuff like that. So,
and we currently have Google Glass, HoloLens, Snapchat Spectacles, Vuzix, Intel Vaunt. Like
Intel's just dropped that.
Yeah, Intel has just dropped that, but Magic Leap hasn't. Leap has, and so like there are all of these different technologies that yes, some of them are going to fail, and some of them are ridiculous. Some of them you would never wear, but it's exactly the same as like I had one of the first ever color screen phones. They're like
Ericsson T68.
and like it was useless. Like you're there going, there is no need for this to have a color screen.
It didn't
it's
even
nonsense.
play Snake.
Right? And like I remember when polyphonic ringtones were like the cool new thing that you're like, oh yeah, amazing, I can't believe this is happening. And like there were phone companies that at that period that were failing, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't that every single one of them was succeeding because phones were going to succeed.
No. I get it.
Same difference.
I do. I think the next step though will more likely be something like a implant or something that is more like...
You'd rather get an implant in your brain than wear a pair of glasses.
But if I'm watching a movie, if I'm looking at you, for example, and this will never happen, it's just hypothetical, found this conversation incredibly boring, and I could fire up a movie into the glasses, would it go black and then I'd be in a cinema environment because it was that smart, the screen technology? I don't know if screen technology, I don't know if everything that we get out of our smartphones. And because smartphones have become so much to us, from a multimedia player, from most of my friends, even the ones that are getting married, met through their smartphones, and all these things. I just don't know if screen here is going to be
but it doesn't necessarily have to be a screen there, does it? So like Intel Vaunt wasn't a screen that was on the thing. It shone a laser onto your retina so that you got the image directly on your eye. And so like, this is the thing, like it's entirely possible that whatever the technology is doesn't exist in its true form yet, that it's like an embryonic version of it. But yeah, I cannot believe that in 5 years' time we will still have something that looks like, feels like, is anything like this.
Like most of our conversations, this has left me terrified and wide-eyed all at the same time. But it is 4 o'clock. This is when we wrap up our live show. So thank you everybody who was having a conversation in the chat room while we were having a conversation on the couch. Hopefully you enjoyed this live show. And for anyone who didn't get the memo, our Thursday live shows are no more. It is just Tuesday live shows. And we will be talking about more cool stuff like this, always taking your suggestions. So please ping anything through that you want to see. And we're signing off. Thanks very much, Andrew.
And you're very welcome. It was a pleasure being here on the Tuesday live show.
Thoroughly educated now.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.